Hello everyone, I am Kamari and welcome back to the Tavern. Today we're going to be discussing a very highly anticipated game that is set to come out in 2023. No, today we're not going to be talking about Hogwarts Legacy, although we will be talking about that very soon. Today we're going to be talking about where are my notes? Here they are. We're going to take a deep look at a very hyped, open world, sci-fi, story-driven, space exploration, resource farming,
One eternity later.
first-person shooting, third-person walking, spaceship flying, action, role-playing game. Starfield. On a serious note, I am going to be taking an in-depth look at everything we know, and that's going to mean the good things and the not so good things. I'm going to give my opinion on things and things I might be worried about how they could turn out, and things I'm hopeful about how they could turn out. So with that being said, this won't be all good things about the video or all bad things about the video, so you can kind of view this as a very unbiased view, not as a hype man and not as a guy who's just here to trash the game, but someone who has genuine optimism and concern for the game. So with that being said,
hold on to your butts.
Starfield is the first new IP from Bethesda Studio in 25 years. The game is set to have you starting as a humble space miner who finds him or herself joining a group called the Constellation. These are the supposed last group of space explorers looking for rare artifacts throughout the cosmos. Overall, I will say that this premise seems a bit boring, but let's move on. Since this is an in-depth look, let's start at the start. The game has a rather impressive looking character creator that does seem to be quite nice. You've got your sliders for your standard things such as weight, height, skin tone, etc. But you also have things like different walking styles to add that extra touch to make the character really yours, and I like that. Now don't get me wrong, this is very far from the most impressive or in-depth character creator I've ever seen. However, I will say it looks quite nice and doesn't seem to have so many options that you'll spend the next 8 hours working on this before you even play the game. Now I know that some may say that more options is always better and they love making super in-depth characters and spending a lot of time, finagling with their characters, but personally I like enough options to make a character that I can relate to, but not so many that I feel like I'm going to spend forever just trying to make the perfect character, so I think it is a delicate balance. Another note on this is that the character faces and models do look rather nice. Based on what I've seen, the player face is much more impressive than the NPC faces we've seen in the footage, but more about that later. Next, we'll take a look at graphics since that's essentially the first thing you'll notice when booting into the game, and I'm honestly a little torn here. Graphically, I think that everything looks phenomenal. However, most of the color palettes look really bland and uninteresting. The terrain is all white and gray and light brown and just feels bad on the eyes. Now, I have seen one or two short clips with really vibrant trees and vibrant landscape colors, and I hope we do see a lot more of that. I'll try to find the exact clip of that and point it out here. But so far, that's not what we're seeing a majority of. The last few things I want to touch on graphically are the world areas and the NPCs. The world areas do look good. However, for some reason to me, a lot of what we've seen looks more like a tech demo than an actual game. A lot of emptiness or generic looking structures, and just not a lot of personality within the game in general. Granted, we haven't seen a lot, but seeing as this is what they thought was good enough to use as promotional material, this does have me a little worried. The faces of NPCs still suffer from the same issue as other Bethesda games. Graphically, they look amazing, but the facial expressions seem slightly off and just not really human. The eyes, the forehead, the cheeks, they just don't move and make expressions in the right way. Now, to be honest, this could be because I just finished playing the Callisto Protocol, and the facial expressions and animations in that game are some of the best I've ever seen, so that is a lot to live up to, so I could be nitpicking here. Next up, we'll take a look at the gunplay mechanics, and honestly, nothing here is really impressive to me. It looks very generic. Some of the guns look kinda cool, but I haven't seen anything that doesn't equate to some kind of generic gun you'd see in any other game. Like, come on, Bethesda. This is supposed to be in the distant future where we can travel at light speed and have super advanced technology, and the best we can do is pistols, machine guns, and shotguns. Obviously, there could be some super awesome guns that we haven't seen yet, but if so, then why haven't we seen some of them? Give me something to get hyped about for your game. Even Fallout had laser guns, for crying out loud. Next, let's talk about the planets. The developers are boasting that we'll be able to explore over 1,000 planets, and I have to believe the old adage here that if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Common sense tells you that the vast majority of these planets would be procedurally generated. Now, Bethesda is already known for having a lot of janky glitches in their game, and that's when none of it's procedurally generated. Look no further than Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Skyrim, Fallout 3, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. You get the point. Now add Bethesda jank with 950 worlds of dynamic generation. My point being is I bet this game is going to take about a year of patches to get to a halfway decent playable place. Speaking of Bethesda jank, it is known that Microsoft wants this game to be a system seller. And that has me worried that like 99% of development, testing, bug fixing, development, patching is going to go into the Xbox version of this game. And on PC, we're going to be left with a buggy mess with all kinds of glitches and jankiness, low frame rate, low performance. I'm talking Cyberpunk 2077 levels of bad here. And I'm really worried about that, especially considering some of the recent releases we've had on PC. But I digress. This is pure speculation, and I could be dead wrong, but if I were a betting man, I know where I'd be putting my money. But what I really want to know is, will we really be able to explore full open worlds of over 1,000 planets, or just bite-sized pieces of each one? Honestly, this sounds like the wrong answer to me either way you put it. If there are 1,000 full open worlds, then that's way too many, and you're giving the player a goal they could never hope to achieve, which is bad design. And if it is bite-sized pieces, then why have so many? Even just 100 would be more than enough. If you had 100 planets and each one took you 2 hours to explore, then you already have over 200 hours of gameplay on a single character. This feels like it calls back to one of my only complaints I had about Elden Ring. There is a such thing as a game that is too big with too many things to do in it. And don't get me wrong, Elden Ring is a masterpiece and I loved almost every minute of the game. However, I only played through it twice because of its sheer size, and one of those times was on New Game Plus. A game like that becomes so much of a commitment that you lose motivation to do it again because you know what the game demands of you. You know the time commitment that you're investing. That's just my thoughts on it though, and maybe they will do something amazing and it'll be great, and we just have to wait for more info in typical Bethesda style. One more thing about this is that Todd Howard recently stated that he knows the game is going to feel lonely a lot, and that they are actually leaning into this idea. He likes the idea of being the only one on a planet with nothing else to do except watch a sunset. He called it beautiful. And to be fair, I do see how this could be cool for like the first 2 or 3 times. But even if it is beautiful, after the whole awe wears off and there's nothing else there, then there's really no game. He justifies this by saying as long as you know what resources are on a planet, then the fun will be going to look for them. Not finding things, not story chapters, not character building, not player progression. Just looking for minerals on an empty planet. Now after planet exploration, I want to take a look at base building. The concept is pretty cool, I won't lie. But I'm worried that we won't really have a reason to care about these bases after we've built them, other than to maybe go click a button and collect resources. Will there be dynamic quests and quest givers generated at our base? Or will it just become a grocery list of driving to all our different bases and planets to collect our resources? I also can't help think of Fallout 4 and Metal Gear Solid base building. Maybe I'm crazy, but did anyone like or care about it in those games? If they make the system good, then I'm all for it. But if they're adding it just for the sake of adding another system into the game to bloat it out further, then I'd rather it just not be there at all. Once again, I guess we'll have to wait to get more info about it. Now let's talk about the ships. I don't really have a lot to say about the ships because, well, we don't really know a lot about it. Starting to notice a trend here with Bethesda. Anyways, I will say that the ships graphically look great. Shipbuilding hilariously reminds me of Kingdom Hearts Gummy Shipbuilder, and I'm not really sure if that's good or bad. The ship combat looks visually stunning, but even during the promotional footage, it looks like the guy controlling it can't even control the dang thing. That is to say, mechanically, it looks like it could be more annoying than ship fighting in Knights of the Old Republic. One last thing about ships that's a really good thing is that they decided to cut the fuel system from the game. The reasoning behind this is that it just wasn't fun for the player. This does make me a bit optimistic about the game if they're removing systems from the game that are taking away from the fun factor. Fun factor is an extremely important thing that developers need to spend more time looking at when developing games. I feel like a lot of times they get so caught up in their great ideas and I'm going to add this and I'm going to add this and I'm going to add this. And a lot of these are just resume builders. I designed XYZ system and XYZ game, which makes sense to a certain extent, but it takes away from the fun for the player when it becomes just more things to worry about. And I like the idea that they are removing things from the game that they see as not fun. It makes me think that they really do care about you and me as a player having fun in this game, and that's very important. Lastly, let's look at the role-playing and the writing. So this is a Bethesda game, which means you'll have multiple options when talking to NPCs, and depending on what you choose could, quote, affect the story. Except if we look at the past few Bethesda games, all of the options lead to the same place regardless of what you choose. Be nice to someone and they'll say, hey, I'll help you out. Be rude for no reason and they'll say, hey stranger, that's pretty rude, but I like your style, sure I'll help you out. The last few Bethesda games have had this really annoying illusion of choice, when in reality nothing you do affects the story in any way. I want choices to be like the Walking Dead games or like Wolf Among Us, where a choice I make could affect whether a character dies or lives later on. I might have to make the choice to take a character with me or leave a character behind and never see them again. And maybe if I take them with me, they betray me later on and kill one of my other followers. Those are meaningful choices in the game that have real impacts and really make you consider your choices within a game. And the best part about it is that is one of the best ways to add replayability to the game, because you're going to want to explore every one of those options. I remember The Walking Dead Season 1, I played through it so many times trying to figure out a way to save the main character, to see if I could save all the side characters, see if I could kill all the side characters, and it made me want to keep playing it to see what I missed, and that is replayability. We recently learned that there will be at least 4 characters in the game that can be romanced. I'm very happy to hear this, as I love having this option in games. I especially like games that take it a step further when choosing one romance option alienates or pisses off another character that you could have romanced. BioWare did a fantastic job of this with games like Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect, and Dragon Age. I believe they all did this very well. Anyways, I'm happy that they are adding it as a whole. They're also saying that your partner or partners could get mad at you if you do something they don't like, but of course, in true Bethesda fashion, they didn't elaborate on this at all. I just hope it doesn't go back to the illusion of choice thing I mentioned earlier, because I could easily see you killing someone and your partner being like, hey, why'd you do that? That's awful. I am angry at you. And then literally never saying anything about it again. Listen, Bethesda, I'm going to give you the winning formula for this. Have one of your developers go play through Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, and then just copy and paste that system into your game. Not even just the romance options, but for companions as a whole. I'd love if each decision I make makes my companions like or dislike me a little bit more, and having to balance that out throughout my playthroughs to get extra options or have options taken away of different dialogue that I could have with those companions. Again, this is how you get replayability. Anyways, that's all the thoughts I could really think to put into this script, so let's head back to the tavern. Hey guys, I really appreciate you stopping by and watching this video. If you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing, and comment and tell me what you're excited about or disappointed about for the upcoming game Starfield or any other games you're looking forward to. If you like this type of coverage and want more of it on games like Hogwarts Legacy, Starfield, Forspoken, and other upcoming titles and games that are even out we might take a look at, I would love it if you went ahead and subscribed and stuck around for more content that is coming very soon. I've got a couple more videos planned for this week and into early next week, a Hogwarts Legacy video, a Forspoken video, a video talking about some of the things I liked and disliked about the Callisto Protocol, so there's a lot of content coming to the channel. If you like me or if you like what we do here, please think about hitting that subscribe button and hitting that like button. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. You all mean the world to me. Love you. And as always, have a great week. Bugs and just unplayability. We're talking Cyberpunk 76 versions of
what?
Bad things in this game. And that's not, is it 76?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
2070s. Oh my goodness. I'm an idiot. I'm just an idiot.